Have you ever needed help, and without you even asking for it, someone stepped in and helped you? What's the right thing to do then? One couple finds out in this Read Aloud with Mr. Paul. Welcome to Read Aloud with Mr. Paul. I'm so glad you could be here. Today, we'll be reading The Shoemaker and the Elves, rewritten by Margaret Mortensen, illustrated by Amy Barrett. Here's our title page, The Shoemaker and the Elves, rewritten by Margaret Mortensen, illustrated by Amy Barrett. Jonas Cobbler kept a tiny shoemaker's shop on the first floor of a 3-story red brick building in a big city. The tiny sign, Shoemaker, could barely be seen. The window was usually filled with Jonas's carefully crafted shoes, but lately, the window was often empty. Jonas's dear wife Rose had been sick, and after paying for the doctor and the medicine, there wasn't enough money left for leather to make many shoes. Late one night, Jonas cut his last pieces of leather to make a pair of brown and white Oxfords. He was very tired, but he had to finish them because the mayor was coming in the morning to look for some shoes. Jonas stretched and yawned. He put his head down on the workbench, thinking he might rest his eyes for just a moment. The morning sun was just peeping through the window when Jonas woke with a start and rubbed his eyes. He couldn't believe what he saw. A fine new pair of brown and white Oxfords shone in the early morning light. He grabbed the shoes and examined the stitching. Every stitch was straight and tight. The shoes were perfect. Rosie, come here, quick, he called. Rose hurried into the room, yawning and brushing her hair. Look, during the night, someone finished my shoes, he said. Who could have been so kind? She asked as she touched the stitches, admired the shine, and carefully placed them in the window. Soon, the little bell over the door jingled as the dapper mayor strode into the shop. "Say, Jonas," said the mayor in his usual loud voice, "I want to try on those fancy shoes you have in the window." He put them on and tied them just so. "I've never seen any so fine," he said as he looked in the mirror. He paid handsomely for them. Then he left, proudly wearing the shoes. With the extra money, Jonas was able to buy enough shiny red leather for 2 pairs of high-heeled shoes. He cut them out carefully that night and began to stitch and tap. But before long, his eyelids grew heavy, so he put his head down to rest for a minute. Suddenly, the morning light woke him. There, before his eyes, were the prettiest shoes he had ever seen. He laughed and danced around, holding the 2 stylish pairs of high-heeled shoes. Then, he placed them on display in the sunny window. That day, 2 young ladies in very fine clothes bought the new shiny red shoes and wore them as they left the shop. Jonas had money to purchase shiny, supple black leather, enough for 4 pairs of boots. Jonas carefully cut out 4 pairs of boots and laid the leather on his workbench. He yawned and stretched and soon fell asleep. Sure enough, in the morning, 4 pairs of shiny, supple boots filled his entire window. The bell rang all morning as customers hurried in to try on the wonderful black boots. Before long, people were coming from all over the city to buy the fine shoes found in Jonas's window. Jonas and Rose were becoming quite prosperous. One day, Rose stood in the doorway looking thoughtful. "Jonas, let's watch tonight and see who makes all these beautiful shoes." That night, Rose and Jonas tiptoed down the stairs and peeked through a crack in the hall doorway. To their great surprise, they saw two happy little elves bent over the shoes, tapping and sewing. As they worked, they sang,
"Work is easy if we share. Work is easy if we care. Work is fun for everyone. We work together and get it done."
"Jonas," whispered Rose, "those tiny elves have been sewing for you each night. But look, they're dressed in rags." Jonas and Rose tiptoed up the stairs. "We must show them how grateful we are. Let's make something nice and warm for them to wear." All the next day, Rose cut and sewed. She fashioned the finest little suits you can imagine. Vests and coats and trousers, even little felt fedora hats. And Jonas made the elves some shiny brown leather shoes. Just before midnight, they carefully laid the outfits on the work table. Then they hid behind the door. As the clock struck 12, the little elves entered. They looked all around for the leather to make shoes. When they saw the new clothes, they held them up curiously. Then they tried them on. To their delight, everything fit just right. They giggled and danced around and admired each other in the mirror. Then the little elves danced out the door and never returned. People still come from all over the city to buy the fine shoes from the tiny shop. And now, while the shoemaker and his wife are tapping and stitching, you can hear them sing. "Work is easy if we share. Work is easy if we care. Work is fun for everyone. We work together and get it done." The end. What do we notice about this story? I notice that Jonas Cobbler and his wife are in a bad situation when the story starts, and how wonderful it is that the elves show up to help them. I'm guessing the elves noticed how hard-working Jonas was, so they decided to pitch in. When I was a little boy, my mother was having a hard time raising my brothers and me by herself. She was hard-working just like Jonas. And some people in the neighborhood saw her struggling. And they stepped in to help us in ways that I didn't even know about until I was a grown-up and my mother told me about it. I wonder if there are people you see around you who are struggling and working hard, and maybe you could be like the elves and give them a helping hand sometime too. I also notice that at the beginning of the story, the Cobbler family is driven into financial disaster by the cost of doctor visits and medicines for Rose. That kind of thing does happen in the United States of America, where I live. In the year I made this video, 2021. Of the 33 most developed nations on Earth, the United States is the only one that doesn't provide healthcare to its people as a human right. In all the other developed nations on the planet, the Cobbler family wouldn't need magical help from elves to stay out of poverty due to medical bills. But here in the US, magical elves are all some of us can hope for. I hope we change that, so the US becomes like every other developed nation on Earth, and the elves can start helping people solve problems other than the cost of healthcare. Thank you so much for joining me for Read Aloud with Mr. Paul. Until next time, discover the wonder in a book. Pick one up. Take a look. If you enjoyed this Read Aloud with Mr. Paul, please like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Thanks again.